Hello, you fantastic people. Welcome back to another Borderlands 3 video. Hope you guys are all doing well. In this video, super keen to bring it to you guys. It is my level 65 FL4-KING build. This thing is awesome and it is a purple tree flak build. It can use gravity snare, rack attack, and fade away pretty much equally as well across the board, which is awesome. Personally, I mostly prefer using rack attack at the moment and then fade away depending on some situations. Gravity snare, I don't really get it. It's alright for some mobbing situations, but if you guys like using it, you can very easily use it in this build all the same. But yeah, without wasting any time, let's jump straight into some clips so you guys can see how much damage this thing does against all the bosses and mobbing situations in this game with a huge variety of weapons. That's my favorite thing to do with these big builds, is make sure it's not a particular gimmick you can only use like 3 weapons in. It's just whatever weapon you enjoy using that's at least viable in this game, which is a huge range at the moment from base game and across all the DLCs that are out. There are so many good weapons to use, and you can use them in this build. Particularly, my favorite thing about this build versus my older ones is it's a huge variety of setups you can use with the same skill tree. You can use URAD, you can use a non-regular URAD 100% ASC, using Nova shields with rack attack, using gorillas in the mist, using 3-shot fadeaway. However you want to set this up, however you enjoy playing flak, this is the best survivability and huge amounts of damage flak skill tree. Hopefully you guys can already see that on screen. I did a ton of testing against a ton of different bosses today. Of course, Graveward, our favorite firing range, I went and took all the weapons to him and tested them out first, then took it to the Maliwan takedown, the Guardian takedown. This thing has so many different setups through it, which you'll probably notice in the clip. Sometimes I have URAD, sometimes I have a Deathless on, sometimes I have the Frozen Heart Shield on. There are so many different options in this build. However you guys want to play it, you can set it up like that. And of course, you can get all of this gear if you are on PC in the PC save file in the description as always. This is probably the most stacked build I've ever had with gear, particularly extremely rare gear with the anointments, all the shields with those amazing anoints, amazing class mods. Everything is stacked in this game save. If you guys want that one, it's always down below. But yeah, in this video, I'm going to go through the weapons you guys want, the anointments, depending on what you guys, however you want to play. I actually used quite a few different ones, and I was switching back and forth, and I think I'm going to continue doing that with this build. And of course, the beautiful level 65 skill tree, including the new purple tree as well. Pet choice and Mayhem modifiers. I'm of course running Mayhem 11 now because I don't want to deal with Mayhem modifiers, but if you guys prefer to play on Mayhem 10 still, then I'll recommend the Mayhem modifiers to use for this build. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the gear for you guys, starting with anointments. Now this is again whatever setup you guys want to rock. I would highly recommend URAD if you can get the anointment and the setup, the gear you need for a setup like that. It just does a ton of damage and is really good with Flak's purple tree because you can get so much shield regen. It's amazing, and it's way more survivable now to rock a URAD flak build. If you don't want to rock that, I often use 100% ASC for just spamming rack attack or 3-shot fadeaway. That's really good. Consecutive hits is always really good for multi-pellet weapons or high fire rate weapons like shotguns, the light show, Monarchs. If you want to rock gorillas in the mist, 200% ASA is a decent option, but I usually go consecutive hits. Depends on what weapons you guys are rocking. As for the weapons that I would suggest, starting with my new favorite weapon, at least pistol, is the Tizzy. This thing is absolutely amazing. Comes in the Arms Race DLC. If you guys want to know where to get this one, join our Discord. We got a map there of where to find them all. But essentially, there's a last boss and a chest location that you can get this thing from. It is absolutely amazing. It is by far one of the best pistols in the game. Honestly, maybe top 5 weapons in the game. The fire rate in this thing is absolutely crazy and does so much damage, as you probably saw in the clips. We've got a next to max fire one and a next to max corrosive one. We've got a ton of luck doing arms race the last couple of days. We've also got a plasma coil. This thing is amazing. Only comes in a shock radiation combo, but does really well anyways. We've only got 300 over 90 so far. Only got 300 over 90. URAD would be preferable, but of course, that's going to do a ton of damage as well. Also from the Arms Race DLC, you guys might have heard about the Boogeyman sniper rifle. It's absolutely amazing. It can spawn a skull, a Boogeyman, when in mobbing situations, and it just homes in on random enemies and keeps spawning new ones, and just one-tapping so many enemies. It's ridiculous. It's also pretty decent at bossing as well. So the Lyda might outclass it a little bit with that, just does a little bit more damage. But it's absolutely amazing and doesn't consume ammo regularly. So you can just keep spamming this thing in mobbing situations. And it's awesome. In the backpack, like I said, completely stacked. So let's run through this real quick. Prompt criticals, absolutely amazing. Of course, Light Show's complete staple. The Maggie is doing really well right now. The Hell Shock honestly surprised me. This was doing really, really well today. We've also got my God Roll, Unforgiven. If you guys just want to hold this and throw Hunter Seekers, the Hunter Seekers will kill everything in sight. It's a ton of fun. Or if you want to crit swap with something like a Red Line, the Trick Shot is pretty decent. It's not great for mobbing situations, but pretty fun in mobbing situations. Kind of like the Flood, if I'm going to be honest, but probably does a little bit more damage. The Firefly, I think it's either bugged or it sucks. I'm not 100% sure. In some situations, it does a ton of damage, and then other times it doesn't spawn the extra little fireflies that do so much damage. For example, against Graveward, it doesn't work. You take it to Gigamind, though, and it shreds him. So I think it's a little bit bugged. Maybe it might get fixed, but good in some situations, bad in others. The Bloodstarved Beasts are amazing. We got Flippers, of course. The Chaos, really, really good. We have URAD Monarchs. You can just as easily use your consecutive hits. Honestly, there's no real difference if I'm going to be honest. And honestly, unless you have a fully URAD setup, I'd probably just stay with your consecutive hits because it's really good for Monarchs as well. The Breath of Dying, amazing. You can still one-shot pretty much anything in the game with a good blob, which is ridiculous. The Rebound is really good. The No Pure, I use this. It's a level 57 from the what's it called? The Cartel events, just like the OPQ. Both of these absolutely rocks. If you still have them, use them. The Boom Sickle, amazing. The Redundant Reflux, really good for the Guardian Takedown. Redline is pretty much just a legendary version of the Bang Stick now. It's really, really good for bossing situations. Wouldn't really use it in mobbing though. Plague Bearer, really good for the bridge clearing, melee one takedown. If you guys don't know about the Hellwalker yet, use it please. It's so good. It's the best shotgun in the game easily. The Convergence DLC 4, also really good. This is the best one I have so far. We also have the Skull Masher, probably the hardest hitting Jacob sniper rifle at the moment. Lyuda, more Boogeymans, and Krakatoa all work. That was a lot of guns, but like I said, really good variety of weapons you can use in this build. Any of those would be my best suggestions for all classes there. Now, as for shields, like I said, so many different options. Frozen Heart is one of my favorites, particularly if you're using Rack Attack. You can just spam that thing, freeze all the enemies around you, and then just shoot them in the head. It's super simple, but if enemies are really good at range, sometimes I use a stopgap for Rack Attack spam, immunity for 5 seconds. That is pretty much Immortal Flak, particularly with this new skill tree. You really will not go down if you're using this stopgap. If you're new to Flak and you never played him because he had a low survivability, use this shield and you will definitely be immortal with this skill tree as well. We have a couple of old gods depending on what boss you want to take out and you're not really worried about survivability. We of course got 2 different front loaders for URAD setups, Fire ASC and Shock ASC, depending on who we're trying to shoot in the face. Nova Burner and a Recharger Burner, both great Nova shields. You can just spam that with Rack Attack. You can also give Pet any of these shields, so we want to take that into account as well. If you put a Nova shield on Pet, he'll also be Nova, doing more Nova damage in the battlefield. Freezing enemies, blowing up with fire damage. It's really, really good using those with Pet. As for grenades, we've got Hunter Seekers. They are by far the best ones for Flak, particularly when using Bounty Hunter class mods, because you can stack up your kill skills. But also, now that Pet can use your grenades, it absolutely destroys everything in the game as soon as it throws a 1 Hunter Seeker. And that's just using a cloning Hunter Seeker, not really a particularly good elemental type or anything like that. This is all that he was using in the clips, and it just absolutely destroys them. So if you get a Mitosis, a relevant elemental type one, you're going to be absolutely set. Oh, and the anointment, 25% on grenade thrown would be absolutely ridiculous on Pep. Like I said, Bounty Hunter class mod, we have so many god rolls in here for you guys because, of course, I've been using Bounty Hunters and Flak pretty much the entire time. So we've got some really good rolls in here for pretty much any situation. We've got snipers, assault rifles, SMGs. We have the beautiful god roll from level 57 for my shotguns. We have SMGs of Hyperion, and we also have the one on the left is pretty much anything that doesn't fit into that category. I usually use pistols, like the Tizzy is the one I'm using for the left class mod there. As for Artifact, like I usually say, the Pearl is the best option, but you can actually use, and I was using a few times, a Deathless Artifact. We have a Snowdrift Deathless for this one. You can use whatever Deathless you prefer using. I just like zipping around with the Snowdrift as well. Essentially putting our health at 1 and doubling our shield capacity. And with the skill tree, which I'll explain soon, is really survivable now with Flak. So whichever setup you want to use for URAD, whether it be Deathless or a front loader, up to you guys. We've got it in there for the save file. We've also got a Snowdrift Auto Idle if you don't want to use a Deathless setup, and if you don't have DLC 2, because now a lot of people don't have access to the Pearl. Snowdrift Auto Idle or Snowdrift Victory Rush, great options. Now this one is absolutely crucial. You have to have a cut purse launchpad on you at all times if you intend on using the Tizzy pistol, which I would recommend. It's the best pistol, best weapon that I have in this whole backpack, if I'm going to be honest right now. But it is super ammo hungry. So take a cut purse launchpad, unlock that ability from your Guardian rank that allows you to just jump and slam, and you'll get your ammo back super quick. It is completely necessary for the Guardian takedown, and maybe even the melee one takedown with the Tizzy, because it's just so hungry with ammo. Like I said, we're using Mayhem 11, no Mayhem modifiers to worry about anymore, but if you guys want to still rock Mayhem 10 for the same level of world drop loot, in Mayhem 11 it halves the world drop loot, but keeps dedicated drops the exact same, but if you want that double the world drop loot in Mayhem 10, you have to deal with Mayhem modifiers. I would recommend for easy, honestly rock whatever you want, maybe Speed Demon for Guardian takedowns. As for medium modifier though, recommend Healy Avenger. For hard modifier, Drone Ranger, those two are super neutral, and really nothing has a chance to heal because you're flak, and if you're shooting them, they're already dead, so they don't have a chance. As for very hard modifier, it depends on what skill you guys are using. I would recommend probably Holy Crit, Buddy System, or Post Mortem. And now for the good stuff, the level 65 FL4-KING skill tree build. This thing is absolutely insane. Of course, using the beautiful new purple tree. Put 5 points into agility training for 40% increased reload speed. I hate reloading, so I always spec increased reload speed. If you don't have a problem with it, you can chuck it somewhere else if you want. Put 5 points into success imminent. This is a really good ability for both flak and the pet. Essentially, whenever either of our shields recharge to full or break, we actually create a radiation nova, which is really, really tanky for both of us, particularly when you're already using a nova shield with action skill start annoyance. You and pet are spamming so many novas, it's kind of crazy. Moving down though, put 3 points into Throat Ripper. It's a hunt skill. Flak's pet's attacks have a chance to score a critical hit, dealing increased damage. This is essentially Megavore for pet, which is insane. 15% chance to hit a critical hit, increasing the damage, also helping elsewhere in the tree as well. Then over to Combat Veterinarian. This thing is a really chunky amount of health regen for Flak's pet. It's not entirely necessary for most of the game, but for example, at Wotan's feet, most pets get curb stomped and don't stand a chance. But with this ability, if you're shooting at Wotan, pet shooting at Wotan, he's not going to go down because he's getting so much health regen back. It's kind of amazing. Then we have Take This. Flak's pet gains a copy of Flak's shield. This is such a sick ability, and it's really fun to mess around with. I've only messed with a few shields so far, and I know there's so many other options as well. If you guys have any other suggestions that I didn't include in this video, I'd love to hear it in the comment section down below. But this is a really fun thing to mess around with for survivability and damage. Moving on to Monkey Do. Flak's pet gains increased critical hit damage by 70% at 5 points. And then when Flak's pet scores a critical hit, Flak's next shot deals bonus damage based on their weapon's damage. Now, you wouldn't think that would be too often, but it actually is very, very regularly. Of course, we have Throat Ripper, aka Pet's Megavore. 15% of the time, they're always going to hit a critical hit. Plus, they can get that from Hunter Seekers as well, which they now shoot out. So they're getting that regularly. The Nova damage, their shots, everything is a chance to hit a critical hit. So they actually have that very regularly. Depending on what weapon you're using, this is a really chunky amount of damage for flak. For example, if you're using a Hellwalker or a Sniper, something that's not spam, super high fire rate, 70% of base damage of your weapon is a ton, and if you're not firing all the time, gives it a second to load back up again. You're gonna have that pretty much all the time, or every other shot in something like a Hellwalker. It's really nice. Moving down to Fuzzy Math. This thing is Flak's extreme amount of survivability, particularly with a URAD build. Whenever Flak or Flak's pet scores a critical hit, like I said, pet's already doing it a ton, and of course we always do it. A portion of Flak and Flak's pet shields are restored. I only put 3 points in here. I don't think it's really necessary to put any more. It's a really nice amount of survivability just having 3. But of course, if you're struggling, just go ahead and put all 5 in there, and it's a absolutely amazing amount of shield regen ability because you're always hitting critical hits. Again, like I said, you can throw Hunter Seekers, pet can throw Hunter Seekers, and you're always getting critical hits without even shooting. Then over to Green Tree, put 5 points in Furious Attack, increased damage for just shooting things. Pet also gets damage out of this as well. 5 points in overclock for increased fire rate, just increases our DPS. Then put 3 points into turn, tail, and run. If you are standing still, you can do increased damage and fire rate. If you're running, you get damage reduction and health regen, which is really, really good. So if you're versing bosses or maybe struggling with an individual enemy, make sure you stand still, you can do more damage. Put 1 point in lick the wounds. This is absolutely necessary for most flak builds because he does down regularly, but this one does a ton of Nova damage. You don't really down in most mobbing situations or bossing situations. The thing you down from regularly is barrels, because we're doing so much Nova damage. If you find a barrel and you didn't see it, you probably down yourself by accident. So chuck on Lick the Wounds. Loaderbot is really good at picking you up versus the other pets especially. Over to Red Tree, put 3 points in Leave No Trace. Essentially, whenever flak hits a critical hit, there is a chance of 1 ammo to be added back to their magazine, which is really, really good. 5 points in Interplanetary Stalker. It's a kill skill that increases your damage, and you get extra bonuses depending on what you're fighting. Put 5 points into Hunter's Eye. We have an extra 2 from our class mod as well. Essentially, whenever using a Bounty Hunter class mod, you get all of those bonuses against all the bosses, which is really good. Put 3 points into Head Count. Absolutely necessary if you're rocking a rack attack or just want to get your action skill of any kind back super quick. Whenever flak scores a critical hit, there's a chance that action skill cooldown is reduced. You get rack attack back instantly, fade away back instantly. Trapper, if you want to use that as well. It's a perfect skill for flak to just constantly loop his action skill and get that extra damage. Put 3 points in Most Dangerous Game. We have an extra 3 from our Absolute God Roll class mods. It is a kill skill and one of flak's best that increases gun damage, crit damage, pet damage for a really long time. Put 3 points into Big Game. It boosts flak's hunt skills. Anything that I just said that was a hunt skill in the purple tree, red tree, anywhere, any of the trees, it increases its duration and effects, and it's really, really good. Put a point in Galactic Shadow. Flak deals increased critical hit damage, 1 point, 15% increase. It's so cheap, definitely chuck it in there. Put 2 points in Grim Harvest for increased gun damage, action skill damage, and pet damage. Usually I would put those 2 points up here for other builds, but now that we have the Purple Tree ability, chuck it in Grim Harvest, you definitely don't need any more reload speed. And then put 1 point into Megavore, the Red Tree Capstone. Absolutely amazing ability. Black gains a chance to score a critical hit with weapons against any part of enemies 20% of the time. You're going to hit a critical hit, even if you shot him in the toe, which is really good for all of our abilities. Anytime I said anywhere in the tree, hitting a critical hit does this, this, or this, that's just increasing all of those chances of getting your action skill back, ammo back, increased damage. It's all across the board an amazing ability. Then over to Blue Tree, absolutely 0 points in here because we don't have enough points. I did contemplate going down to Frenzy instead of Green Tree, but not only on top of this survivability thing right here, this, and this all combined to be about 3 to 5% damage less than Frenzy, but you do have it all the time. So I think it's more worth than trying to get down to Frenzy, particularly seeing as our pet choice is Loaderbot, who's not amazing at stacking a Frenzy without things shooting him. So in bossing situations, you're not getting those bonuses as much. The Warloader is the choice though for pet. It is by far the best pet, does a ton of damage. Honestly, in mobbing situations, you can leave him there. He's not as strong as a pet build, which I posted the other day, but he does still hold his own and definitely won't go down. And use your attack command, by the way. If you don't usually use attack commands, I didn't used to, but it's really worth using with this Loaderbot because he can shoot rockets and absolutely destroys all the things. But yeah, that is everything I have for my level 65 Mayhem 10 FL4-KING build. This thing is awesome and it's going to be my go-to flak build from now on because you can just use whatever loot you want, whatever gear setup you want, and it does a ton of damage with this skill tree. Hope you guys did find this video helpful or enjoyable. If you did, don't forget to smash subscribe down below. I'd really, really appreciate it. It is totally free and does amazing things for the channel. If you want to help me out even more, you can smash like down below, share it with your friends, and if you have any suggestions or questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm more than happy to help you guys out. Other than that, we have a Twitch, we have a Discord with awesome people in it, and we also have a Twitter, always linked down below. Other than that, hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys next video and a live stream. Till then, adios.